welcome to another special edition of that podcast. I won't say the name of again because I do not wanna. So so you probably know by the title of the video or whatever platform you're watching. My guest is known as Jericho Kean. He is the creator of two Doctor Who series, one known as his pilot series, and the second series is actually part of a franchise known as the Doctor Who Oracle Universe, known as Doctor Who Regenerated. How's it feel to be on the show, Jericho?
It feels pretty good. It's been a while. I haven't really been on any podcasts in a while, so it's nice to do something like this
Oh,
again.
yeah. So what other podcasts have you been on besides this one?
Um, so I've done a few with some other people in the fan film community. I don't know how many of them are still on the internet. I think some of them may have been taken down, but I've been
Maybe.
on Rebel Scum podcast before a few times. I'm good friends with them.
All right.
They're a Star Wars podcast, so.
Oh, cool. Alright, so the first question is probably the most generic question I'm going to ask to Jericho, like the previous guest I have. So first question is, how did you get into Marvel movies in the first place?
Marvel movies?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, like what got you into Marvel?
Probably like Spider-Man. Like
Yeah,
I grew up with like the Tobey Maguire ones, and so just kind of watching
I'm
those
more of
growing
a
up.
Drake.
And then
I'm more of like,
I did get into like the MCU movies when they came out.
yeah,
I don't think I never saw the Iron Man movies right when they came out in theaters because I didn't know who it was or what it was really
yeah.
when it came out. But later on, once like the Avengers came out and stuff, I started watching those, and I do enjoy all that stuff. So,
Alright. Hold on, I need to use the bathroom real quick.
all right.
Okay, so I just muted myself. So what I'm doing to my guest is I'm going to give him two more questions that are unrelated to his universe. So this will be like a prank. This will be like a prank, and then I'll go on to the real questions. Okay, I am back.
All right.
So someone recommended me to watch this Netflix series called Dark, and I haven't watched it before. Someone said it's a good sci-fi show. Do you think it's a good show? It's on Netflix.
I haven't actually seen it,
Oh,
but
okay.
I'll have
All
to
right.
check it out.
Next question. Why is Smosh? I hear like many people say this channel named Smosh is considered to be the worst channel ever, and I just don't see why. Why do you think it's considered to be a bad channel? I like their content.
um, so I haven't really watched a ton of them in a long time, but I remember them being more like controversial, I guess.
Yeah.
So maybe just because they're controversial.
All right. All right. Next. All right. So I already told the audience that I don't with that like at this point I'm pranking you. These are not, as you know, obviously no, those are not real questions to your
I was
series.
gonna
So
say I was kind of confused
yeah.
there first.
When I muted myself, when I said go to the bathroom, I already explained to the audience, so that's how they know. So sorry
Okay.
about that.
Hey, no, you're
I,
good. I think
yeah,
it's a good kind of introduction. It's funny. I liked it.
yeah. So the next questions will be really real about your series. It won't be anything about unrelated like Smosh. And in my opinion, Smosh is okay right now.
Yeah,
All
I
right,
haven't really watched them that much, so.
all right. Um, If we are talking about Smosh, this would be a talk with Smoshian. All right. So the next question is, well, the first question is, how did you get into Doctor Who in the first place, and when you got into it, was it classic or revived?
So I first got into Doctor Who through some friends of mine.
Mm-hmm.
They had just gotten into it from another friend actually, and so I actually started my first like few episodes were Matt Smith, so it was the
Yeah.
revived series. So that was like for my first introduction to it was during Matt Smith's era, and I liked it. And I've been kind of a fan of sci-fi for a long time, so it was something that wasn't hard for me to get into it. And I had heard about it, and I had had a few other friends who have kind of talked about the show and like said I should watch it and stuff. And then I was at my friend's house and they were watching it, so I watched it and
All
I
right.
liked it. And
Yeah.
yeah, so I did start with New Who, but I have
All
kind of
right.
gone back and watched some of the classic ones too, like Tom Baker,
Uh-huh.
the Eighth Doctor movie, and like some of the other ones like that.
Who's your favorite canon doctor?
Probably Peter Capaldi.
That makes sense. I like him too. All
Yeah.
right. So after you watched Doctor Who, what got you to decide to make Doctor Who fan films in the first place? Starting from the pilot series, like what got you to decide to make the fan films?
So there's quite a story behind that. So I kind of before I even got into Doctor Who, I was making
Uh-huh.
movies. I've been into filmmaking since I was younger.
All
I
right.
actually got into it through like Lego stop motion and stuff, and then I
Oh, that's
started
cool.
doing like live action. So I did a few
All
movies,
right.
like short films. They weren't that good because I was young. And then when I watched Doctor Who, I'm like, okay, it'd be kind of cool because it'd be kind of cool to do my own version of this. And because I knew that the Doctor changed his face, I'm like, oh, I could do something with this. This would be an easy
Yep.
way to make a fan film. And I had never even like seen any Doctor Who fan films or even knew about Doctor Who fan
Oh,
films at that point.
wait, really?
No, so I
Oh,
actually,
that's cool.
so I was gonna make one, and when I
So
was
you came
like,
up with the concept yourself?
yeah, and then, but when I was like working on writing one and everything, so the original idea was I was gonna be the 11th Doctor, and we are gonna have a few
Yeah.
other people play different ones.
All right.
And I was like researching, and and I had been watching more of the show at that point, and
Uh-huh.
I actually saw DW 2012's fan film series, and that was like really good. I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool. So that was what made me decide to, instead of making a fan film about like the 11th Doctor, I would make my own Doctor and kind of do my own era. And
Yeah.
it was originally meant to be a two-part episode, and then
Okay.
we like I rewrote it. I wrote it. I rewrote the script multiple times for the first episode of the pilot series.
All right.
And when I finally filmed it, it became way different than it originally was. And it was just one episode. Like I was originally only planning on making one, and I posted it, and it blew up really fast, and a whole bunch of people liked it. So I decided to make more of them.
All
So
right.
it wasn't really originally planned to be a ton, and then I like made the one. Like I kind of had an idea to make a series before I finished the first one. Like I thought about it, but
Okay.
I was gonna kind of see how it went, and it went pretty well. So I made more after that.
All right. That's cool. Whenever I say that's cool, that means I have nothing. I literally have nothing to say. I'm a no response person.
Hey, I'm the
All
same
right.
way. That's cool.
All right. When you have to run podcasts, you have to say I have to say stuff.
Oh
So,
yeah.
good for you for coming up with the concept. That's all I have to say. All
Well, I
right.
appreciate it. Yeah.
Next question is, what are your inspirations? I know you mentioned that when you decided to create a fan film, you did not have any knowledge of any other fan films, but there might. But then you encountered the 2012 fan films, and you thought they were good. What else inspired you to make them? Or it doesn't have to be Doctor Who related. It could be any other films.
Okay. So what got me into making films in general was actually Lord of the Rings. Um, I
Oh, I haven't
remember
seen them.
because I was a big Lego fan, and I remember
All right.
when the Lord of the Rings Legos came out, I was like, oh, those are cool because I used to kind of be into that medieval fantasy stuff, and I still am. But
All right.
I got into those Legos, and so through that I kind of got into Lord of the Rings and found out what that was. And after
All
watching
right.
those, I'm like, all right, I kind of want to make movies and stuff, and that's really where it started. My first couple short films were kind of like Lord of the Rings inspired um, shorts, and they weren't good at all because I was like maybe 11 making them and didn't have any experience. But after doing that for a while, Doctor Who was a nice change. But that was mainly what got me into film. After that, I would say probably just other fan films like DDK Productions. Great, I love
Oh yeah.
them. They're actually
Uh huh.
friends of mine now.
Oh, that's cool.
And their fan films are really good. Just watching other Doctor Who fan films kind of has helped a lot too.
All right. Okay, next question. So I'm not sure if it's just me or it's like a question from other people. So I noticed that you taken upon the name Jericho Rose or sometimes Jericho Kean,
Mm-hmm.
and I sometimes wonder like what is your real last name?
So
So the question is, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm
yeah,
pretty sure I questioned it myself.
all right. So yeah, my name is actually Jericho Kane Rose. That's my full
All
name.
right. Oh, okay.
And I originally, when I first started doing movies and stuff, I just put Jericho Rose in the credits. But after a
All
while, I
right.
kind of wanted to do Kane as as more of a stage name or like for acting and stuff. So I
Okay.
started going by Jericho Kane instead. But people still know both, so I have gotten that question a few times. But I don't mind it. I think it's interesting.
Well, well, I mean, like, take it some time. Maybe they don't take it some time. Like, maybe a couple of years they'll know you as Jericho Rowe. I'm sorry, Jericho Keane. I meant
Mm-hmm.
Keane.
Yeah,
But no.
I don't mind either.
Huh. All right. Next question is, after you decide to make a Doctor Who fan film, how did you manage to start a production with the chore of hiring cast and crew members? That doesn't also include that. You also had to build your own TARDIS,
Mm-hmm.
time, find schedule for filming, and all that other stuff. I can't. I'm trying to name more, but I can't right now.
Oh, you're good.
Yeah.
So
Like,
just like
yeah.
making it, because I'd already made a few short films before that, and I had a lot of
Okay.
friends from like school or church and stuff like that, where I just had a lot of friends growing up, I guess, that
Mhm.
were willing to help out. Thankfully, God bless them. But so I had a lot of people that were interested in it, and some other people that and obviously like I got into Doctor Who through friends, so some of my friends were
Yeah.
already into Doctor Who and were familiar with it, so they were willing to help out.
All right.
My dad is really good at building things, so
Oh, okay.
he has a lot of knowledge in that, and we were able to get some wood and build the TARDIS police box, and later on we built a console out of wood for the Doctor Who Regenerated remastered or the reboot. But in the
All right.
original one, we just built kind of like a plastic TARDIS console on like a table. It was very
Okay.
makeshift, but it worked for what it was for and everything.
All right.
And
So,
then scheduling
uh,
was kind of an issue just because like people have different schedules, and that's why like when we did
yeah.
our pilot series, episodes would come out months apart from each other just because we didn't have a set schedule. When we started doing like series 2, we actually had a week tried to do somewhat of a weekly schedule
All right.
for everything else after that, which has been typically over the summer when people were off from school and things like that. Now most of us are older and have jobs and stuff, so it's a bit harder, but we're still making it work, I guess.
Okay. So, as far as I understand, that's concerning the next question. As far as I understand, you've built three TARDIS sets, one for the original series, the other for the current series, and the one for the Master, which appeared in a reflection. Am I right?
So yes, actually, so
Okay.
we built the TARDIS. So the original TARDIS in the pilot series, because we had two pilot series, 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And then I decided to reboot the series after that. So
Okay.
I had one TARDIS console throughout the pilot series, but I changed the room between series 1 and 2, and
Okay.
then I kind of customized the TARDIS a little bit different. And then when we made Doctor Who Regenerated, I we built the steampunk, the wooden console, the better one, and then
Okay.
I used the old one for the Masters TARDIS, the old pilot series TARDIS console for the
All right.
Masters TARDIS.
Oh, okay. That's cool. They I didn't really that you. Okay. I'm a little stutter at this point. I was
That's all
about to
right.
say that that's kind of cool. They kind of look both. The Master's TARDIS and the original TARDIS kind of look both different. You can't really tell them. You can't really tell them apart.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Hopefully, I could get my talking starting in order. Order. Damn it. Dang it! I did not say damn. All right.
You're good.
I might censor that out. So, you already answered that question. Okay. Next question is, how much did it? Do you know how much it cost to build all three TARDIS interiors, or did you just not know and your dad paid it for you?
Um, it's actually hard to say because We didn't actually have to buy a lot of wood.
Oh, okay.
My dad has a shed full of just old wood that he's gathered over the years. So we were able to use a lot of that. I remember we paid a good amount, probably a couple hundred for the new console because we did actually have to buy some.
All right.
We had to buy some wood for the TARDIS console. The police box, we were lucky enough to just have a ton of wood that my dad had, and we were able to use that. We did have to pay for like paint and some other stuff, but honestly, we
Okay.
didn't have to spend a ton of money. And for the consoles, a lot of times I would just reach out to people and be like, I need a whole bunch of junk, like a whole bunch of buttons and switches and stuff that you don't need. And I was able to get a lot of people to give me stuff that they weren't using or didn't need anymore. And I found some old stuff, and like I pulled apart some old VCRs and computers and stuff to kind of get things to look like a TARDIS console. So
All right.
I was very lucky to have it be low cost, and I was able to just kind of use some things I could find and had around the house to make it. But I would say if I didn't, it would have costed at least $1,000, probably more than that, to make 3 consoles. Just guessing.
All right. So my next question is, hold on, I'm lost. Okay. All right. So in both of your series, the pilot series and Doctor Who Regenerated, um, there would be scenes you could see like the TARDIS exterior has shifted in between scenes. Like in one scene it's in front of the school where Calvin the idiot works at.
Uh huh.
There's another scene in the original series where it's in front of Lily's house. I'm trying to name some. There's another scene where it appeared somewhere in the woods where the Doctor met Jack Hulk. How did you manage to move the TARDIS exterior into different places? Do you have to lift it up, or is there a forklift involved?
So the way we actually built it was, oh, we built it in kind of sections so we can take it apart
Oh,
and
okay.
move it because it's way too heavy to move on its own. So like the
Yeah.
walls come off, the top comes off, the doors
So
come
how long
off.
would building take?
It would usually take probably 10, 15 minutes to get it set up. I mean, my dad had like a trailer that we were able to fit everything in.
Oh,
So
cool.
we were able to transport it. There's actually, I think, some behind the scenes videos on the channel.
All right.
And there should be in one of them, it shows us setting it up at that school.
Okay.
So you have
So
to
do you
check
like
that out.
do you guys like normally have permits before you build them, or do you not need them?
I have a relationship with the people like that own the school and everything, so we were
Oh,
fine.
okay.
We were fine to do that there.
All
So
right.
far, it's been private property the most time, like at my house or like somebody else's house. So we haven't really had to deal
Okay.
with permits or anything. But I'm sure if we like moved it into like a town or a city or something, we'd probably need to figure that out.
All right. So I wish you luck with that.
Yeah, thanks.
All right. No problem. So on the second video of your archive channel, you announced that your first that's the video where you announced that that channel is sort of ending because of your struggle to create an AdSense account. I'm not sure if I pronounced this right.
Hmm.
What can you tell us about the issue?
So that was like yeah, that's the Not So Amazing Studios channel.
Yeah,
Um
that's your first one.
so that was our old channel, and
Yeah.
one of the so I kind of co-owned that channel with someone else.
Okay.
Good friend of mine still. But there was some issues with he tried to set up some AdSense stuff so we could have people donate via like super chat and stuff, like where people can
All right.
donate during live streams. And
All right.
I don't really know what happened with it, but something went wrong in setting that up. And
Okay.
YouTube being the way that it is
Yeah.
doesn't allow you to like set up another one, or at least at the time it didn't. So we could
Okay.
basically never do that with that channel. And I was also at the point where I kind of wanted to change the name of the channel, and like I was rebooting the series, so it seemed like it was a good time, if any, to kind of make a new one and like kind of start fresh. Not start fresh completely, but like kind of, I mean, I guess it would be kind of starting fresh with a new channel, some new content, new name, and just
All
kind of
right.
bringing out some new things. And we also found that with the pilot series, I think a lot of people watched it and then didn't keep watching because they didn't like it. And that's
Okay.
a part of the reason why we rebooted, because we wanted to make something better. But so that was it. Kind of just seemed like a good idea to move channels at the time. It's been something that I've kind of questioned a few times over the years. Like, ooh, was it a good move? Was it not a good move?
All
But
right.
and we did lose a lot of a fan base from moving channels, because we had at least a couple
Yeah,
thousand on
that's
that channel,
expected.
and now we have around like 300. But we are growing, and we're just now coming out with some new content, that because when we made the new channel, we just brought over old content from the old one.
All right.
So we're now kind of coming out with new stuff, so hopefully that'll help grow things. But yeah, it was mainly just that, like, something went wrong when he was trying to set up the AdSense account, and we moved channels because of it,
All
at
right.
least partly because of that.
So, if the owners of YouTube are watching this, when Jericho say YouTube being YouTube, he meant like YouTube being the best streaming platform there is, and we humbly thank you for, I humbly thank you for allowing this podcast to air on YouTube. So he didn't mean anything by it. He didn't mean anything. He meant as a good thing. I swear. I'm
Yes.
yes, yeah. All right. So, oh, I am lost again. Well, I should keep track.
You're good.
Um, yeah. It's about the ads. Okay, so the next question is, when you started the pilot series that lasted for two series or two seasons, other people like to say,
Hmm.
were you going to make a third series? If so, why did you cancel the series before you even make it?
So yeah, that's a good question. So actually, we did plan on making a third series, and
All
we
right.
kind of set it up in the finale of series two. There was a introduction of the Valiard, which is something we kind of built up. But
Okay.
as many people probably know in the fan film community, that DW 2012 has done the Valiard storyline, and I think
Yeah.
DDK is doing something with the Valiard now. So we kind
Oh,
of didn't want to do the Valiard because everybody. It seemed like a lot of other people were doing it.
that makes sense.
We were also getting a lot of like comments about me wearing a red coat ripping off the DW 2012 Doctor, which is really dumb because it's not even like the same shade of red, and it wasn't even like intentional or anything. Red was
All
just my
right.
favorite color, so I wanted red. But so we're like, yeah, we really don't want to have that, like, we don't want to have that kind of like, we don't want to be cliche in the fan film community, I guess, like using the
Yeah.
same bad guys and stuff. And
Uh-huh.
also just like I said before, how like the first couple episodes were like worse quality, so I think people like
All right.
assumed the rest of it would be bad quality, so they didn't watch the rest of it. And that was kind of I felt like it was kind of holding us back from like getting where we could have got with the series. And it was
All
like a
right.
decision to kind of like, so I did have a third series planned. And after talking to a few people, actually somebody from DDK actually helped me a lot.
Oh, cool.
I don't know if you know Fortuna Vega Productions.
I unfortunately don't.
They're doing a Torchwood 2000 series.
Oh, cool.
It looks really good. But the guy, one of the guys from there, he's helped me a lot. He
All
was
right.
helping me with series 3, and he suggested I should do something where the Doctor gets sucked into another reality, and, and kind of reboot the series without rebooting it, to kind of make it more
Okay.
serious and get rid of some of the jokes, and like make it serious, different, change it up a bit so it's not as cliche. But instead of doing that, I just decided to completely reboot it because I kind of wanted to have another go at like my Doctor again, like from the beginning.
All right.
Like a whole new regeneration, a whole new everything else, build a new TARDIS. So we did decide to just reboot the series instead of continue it, and that's kind of where
All right.
the title Regenerated came from, because like it's a whole new series, it's new, it's
Oh,
regenerated.
okay.
So it was like
It's like a
the
rebirth.
rebirth, yeah. So we called it Doctor Who Regenerated, and we just rebooted everything. That's when we
All
decided
right.
to build the wooden TARDIS console and make the room better, and um, kind of start over with the storyline and try to do something a little different. Like, we haven't had any Cybermen or Daleks in our series, which will be explained in the future why there isn't.
Okay.
We made mostly our own villains, our own
All right.
aliens and stuff. So trying to kind of keep it more original.
All right. So in your late Okay, so before you created Doctor Who Regenerated, did when you're in the process of uh when you're in the process of creating the pilot series, did you refer it to a pilot series after it's been released? Or did you refer it as just Doctor Who? Because back then there was no Doctor Who Regenerated back then, and back then you didn't cancel the third series yet.
Yeah, so back then it was just Doctor Who.
All right,
Doctor Who, the pilot series was kind of a. Actually, my friend Luke came up with that title because
Luke Lane.
yes, Luke Lane,
All
because
right,
it was because we rebooted the series, we kind of needed a way to, because Doctor Who Regenerated had a title, but we're like,
all right.
instead of just saying the old Doctor Who series, the series before Regenerated, we just decided to call it the pilot series because it kind of was like a pilot test
Yeah,
for the series we have
that is
now.
true.
So we kind of just, I mean, it wasn't one episode pilot. It was like a full, but it was it served as a pilot kind of for us to
Yeah,
like kind of
kinda.
practice it and see how it would go before we
I see
actually
what you mean.
went more into it. So that's kind of where the title came from. But it was afterwards. It was added later on. It wasn't. It was originally just Doctor Who, and that was it.
All right. In your latest video on the archive channel called Our Universe Explained, you mentioned that the pilot is formally canon to Doctor Who Regenerated, meaning that both series existed on the same universe. Um, but obviously you said formally, so that means it's all changed. Why is that?
So it's kind of complicated. We're
Okay,
actually
just
working.
simplify it as you
We're
can.
Yeah, I will. We're actually working on a new video to kind of explain things better.
All right.
So basically, Luke Lane and I, ever since we met, we wanted to make our series is connected.
Okay.
And Luke actually came up with the Oracle timeline, which I'll explain more later. I'm sure we'll get more
All
into that
right.
later.
Yeah,
But
I will ask more about it.
so the Oracle timeline is like our doctors and a few others. So when I made Regenerated, we're like, all right, this is a new timeline from the original, because the original was I kind of just made a timeline and put some other fan film doctors in it, and it was also
Okay.
canon with the actual show and stuff. Um, Something I wanted to do when I rebooted it was make it not canon with the show, so it's like
Okay.
an alternate timeline.
All
Um,
right. An
but
alternate universe.
alternate universe. So technically, the pilot series Doctor and Doctor Who Regenerated aren't in the same universe, but they're in the same multiverse.
Okay, I get you.
So like, they're. I don't want to spoil anything, but
No, no, don't spoil.
there's a new episode I'm releasing very soon called Dark Dimension that will kind of dive into that
Yeah,
idea of a
I'll ask
multiverse.
about that.
So
That's
you'll find out
interesting.
more soon once that comes out. I
All
had
right.
to. Hopefully, it'll be out soon.
Hopefully. I'll ask more about that later. I won't say anything about it now. This question is about someone named Ewan Hoyle.
Mm-hmm.
So, when you go, so a while ago, I don't know when Ewan mentioned that he emailed with you on one of his videos about him making can your pilot universe canon to his Doctor Who universe. Did you know that on Ewan's Discord server he announced that the pilot series is no longer canon to his series because he believed that both his series and your pilot series mismatched the continuity. What's your intake on this?
Well, that actually, I'm completely okay with that. Because to be honest,
Yeah.
so I basically told Ewan that he could use my pilot doctor, or at least an alternate version. I kind of
All
explained
right.
it in that video as well about the idea of a multiverse and that there could be multiple different versions of me,
Okay.
the Jericho Kean doctor, throughout different fan film universes and things. And I basically said he
That
could
makes
use
sense.
it. He could use it if he wanted, but it wasn't something that was going to be canon to my series if he did use it.
All right.
But after me and Luke Lane have talked a lot more since that happened, and we kind of want to keep our own doctors our own, even the pilot series, because like it's still
Okay.
something that I made and I want to kind of keep to my multiverse, I guess, if that makes sense. So
That makes sense.
him not wanting to use it actually kind of works out because
All right.
we were gonna be like, all right, nobody else can use it anyway.
So did he tell you guys? Did he tell you about it?
No, he didn't reach out to
Okay.
me.
So when I break the news to you, it's like your first time hearing about this.
Yeah, it is.
All right.
But
All
yeah,
right.
I mean, I'm okay with that. I wish him well on his series, and I hope it
All right.
goes well. Honestly.
Well, I cannot say the same thing because little intake he and I used to be friends and a thing fallout we both disagree on stuff, so I don't know what so I'm going to stop talking because this is getting personal.
Yeah, that's
I
totally
just want
fine.
Yeah. So but he does have a good series and such. All right. Next question is, when you created Doctor Who Regenerated, how did you? I think you already answered this question, but I'm going to ask again. How, when you first created a series, how did you decide to be different from your pilot series? Because when you want to create a new series that's like a reboot, you don't want it to be the same as your first series. So how did you decide for them both to be different?
So something with the first series that I got a lot of was people saying I was like acting like Matt Smith the whole time,
Okay, he
which
is a good actor.
he is good, and I definitely was acting like him a bit in my first pilot series,
All right.
probably in my second too, because that was the doctor that I kind of got into the show with and connected with the most at the time. But as something I wanted to kind of change with that in the remastered or regenerated series was that I wasn't acting like any particular doctor, but that I was kind of making it
Okay.
my own. Now there is definitely some inspiration and influence from Peter Capaldi's Doctor in Regenerated a bit.
All right.
I
Okay.
tried to make it a bit more serious than the pilot series. There still is a lot of jokes and inside jokes with the cast and stuff in it,
Yeah.
but it is we're making it more serious, and that was kind of the main thing, was making it more serious,
All right.
making it in an alternate universe to the actual show, so we don't have to really worry about that continuity,
All
and
right.
then kind of just be able to do our own stories without like really being reliant on the show or anything or referencing the show.
Okay.
Something that like a lot of fan films do a lot is reference the show,
Yeah.
and that was something we
I see
tried
what you
not to
mean.
do at all, in like not reference the
So
show.
like if someone that doesn't watch Doctor Who watch your series for the first time, they'll understand what your show's about.
That's the hope, at least. And there is references to other doctors in the Oracle timeline, and that's going
Okay.
to be developed a lot more in the future. Because as of right now, only myself and one of the other doctors in the timeline actually have series or episodes live action. But as time
Uh-huh.
goes on, we're gonna have, hopefully everyone in the timeline will have some form of live action or audio series that will kind of help build up the continuity of the universe and like build more into each other's storylines. So that'll be really
All
cool.
right. Okay, so next question. After the pilot series, you work on Doctor Who Regenerated, which so far has 5 episodes and one prequel. This question is about the prequel called The Doctor Again. It took it did not star your Doctor, the Clockwork Doctor. It starred the Doctor of War,
Mm-hmm.
who was introduced as a renegade Time Lord, and how his companion is distraught by his actions, and like she even considers of him not being the Doctor, as far as I know. And then
Mm-hmm.
later she got killed by someone named I'm not going to say a name because I'm afraid I might pronounce it wrong. And then the guy also shot the Doctor of War, which made him regenerate to your Doctor.
Mm-hmm.
So what we learned from the episode is that he basically was different from the other Doctors because he committed genocide over planets. So my question is, will we see more of him in the future, or like if we're not, how will his actions impact on the future of your show?
That's
Like
a
in
good
series two,
one.
it's like another revenge seeker going to try kill the Clockwork Doctor for the Doctor of War's actions or something like that.
So actually, his doctor's era has a huge influence over mine.
All right.
Something we're kind of gonna dive into in series two is that my doctor kind of starts to go back into that path, but he kind of
Okay.
stops. He stops himself, so he doesn't go
All
full.
right.
But something that we kind of developed in with the doctor. So Micah Fierro, he's the doctor before me. So his doctor is really dark,
Okay.
kind of like a war doctor, inspired by a war doctor.
All right.
Like I guess it would be our alternate universe's version of the war doctor.
All right. That makes sense.
And because his doctor was so like went through so much stuff, my doctor's original, like when he regenerates into me, my doctor's very funny, jokes, memes, lighthearted. So that's kind of like a way of like the doctor is kind of coping with all the like all of the stuff that he just went through as the
All
doctor
right.
of war. So as series 2 comes along, my doctor's going to kind of become more normal and like settle out of that like coping, cuz the first series is more jokes and more funny and
Yeah.
more than it is really serious. So like series 2 is going to be more serious, where my doctor's kind of coming out of that um coping phase or coping mechanism. So it was kind of like the regeneration's way of like, all right, we were just this war doctor, awful person, went through a ton of crap, lost a ton of people we loved. Let's go funny jokes, memes to kind of cope with it. So we're gonna kind of dive into that more with series 2. We do
All right.
have a audio series planned about Micah's doctor, which will probably
Okay.
not come out for a couple years because we got to finish a few other things first.
All
But
right. That makes sense.
I do want to have a Doctor Who series called Doctor Who Renegade, which is Micah Fierro's era as the Doctor. It'll be audios,
Okay.
and it will kind
That's
of
cool.
take place before my Doctor, so it'll kind of show you more about his story, about what happened to him that kind of affects my series, and plays into that, and builds up to that final prequel episode where he regenerates into me.
All right. So, your series is part of a franchise, like I mentioned before. It's called the Doctor Who Oracle universe. So my question is, how did your series become part of that universe? And my next question after that is there an awaiting crossover between the franchise, besides Dark Dimension, where the Bowler Doctor appears in, like let's say a version of Infinity War, or the Arrowverse crossover Crisis on Earth X. I don't know if you get that references,
Mm-hmm.
like a crossover between all the Doctors.
So how the Oracle universe kind of came to be was even
Yeah.
in so basically when me and Luke Lane met each other, which we actually met through YouTube and through doing Doctor Who fan films and stuff, because
Okay.
he's been working really hard on a series, and he's actually doing an audio series now, Doctor Who Salvation. But so he and I met. We hit it off really well, like right off the bat.
All right.
We became friends pretty quickly, and both kind of
Congratulations.
talking about Doctor Who, building TARDISes, and talking about our series and stuff. And something I thought was kind of cool when I kind of joined that Doctor Who fan film community was like people wanting to collaborate and kind of making your own universe and stuff. So
All
ever
right.
since me and Luke met, we decided that the timeline was Luke, Micah, and then me. And it's been that those three doctors have been consistent from the pilot series into Regenerated. So
Okay, that's good.
even though we rebooted the series, we kept that timeline idea.
All
And
right.
over time, we added our friend Brianna Downing, Ruben Roper, which has a series on Imagine Productions, and then
Okay.
Kayla Boone is another one. She's the doctor after mine.
All
So
right.
we've kind of added in more people, and Luke just came up with this title called the Oracle Universe. And there actually is going to be kind of a reason that it's called that, which will be explored in the series, more so in Luke's series than mine. But there's going to be kind of something connecting amongst those like 5 or 6 doctors. There's going to be
All right.
an oracle or something in their series that kind of connects them all together, that makes it like the Oracle universe.
Okay. All right, that makes sense.
And
Um.
sorry, I didn't get to the crossover part. So the
Yeah.
crossover, yeah, there is the one with me and Luke in Dark Dimension,
Okay.
which I'm really excited for that to come out.
I am too.
There isn't really any plans in my series for a huge multi-doctor thing, as that's something that I think we see a lot of other fan films doing, is multi-doctor
Okay.
stories. And like
Yeah.
we said before, kind of wanted to keep it different. There is going to be like references to each other's doctors a lot,
Of
and
course.
there might be a few like cameos in the future, but there's nothing huge like Infinity
All right.
War crossover or anything.
Okay. So my next question is, it's going to be a fun question. You don't have to answer it if you don't want to. The question is, can besides your fan film, can you rank all the other fan films in the Doctor Who Oracle universe?
And the Oracle. Um,
Yeah. Like,
so how I said before, there's really not a whole lot that are out yet.
uh-huh.
I would say Ruben Roper has an episode called Power of the Shalka, which is
Okay.
really good. It's probably one of my favorite fan films. If you haven't seen it, you should check it out. It's really good.
All right, I'll check it out.
Um, so his doctor is he's like the first one in our Oracle timeline,
Okay.
and so that would be my favorite. Um, Brianna Downing does not have a series out right now that is canon with ours. She does have a
All right.
different. She has an older Doctor Who series that isn't canon to the Oracle timeline. I think it's canon to the multiverse, but it's not canon to
Okay.
the universe itself. So
All right.
her
That makes
series is
sense.
pretty good, and then Luke has like audio. He has one audio out right now, which is really good. So I'd probably say
Okay.
Ruben, Luke, Bree, and then Kayla doesn't have anything yet, and Micah doesn't have
Okay.
anything yet. Um, so there's really not a whole lot yet, but I would say Ruben probably has the best. He has the most like live action fan films,
Okay.
and his are pretty good. And then Luke has some audio stuff that he's doing, and Brianna is gonna be doing, I think, an audio series as well. So a lot of our stuff is actually gonna be audio, but I know Luke has plans to do live action stuff in the future too. So
Okay. So, my next question is will be relating to the previous question. So, so hypothetically, if all the other people involved with the franchise is hearing this right now and just heard you just ranked them, what would you say to them like literally right now at this moment?
you guys are all awesome. I love all of your fan films. You are all wonderful content creators, but
All right.
and if they all had stuff out, it would be hard to choose because they're all good friends of mine, and I think I'm just excited for the day when we all have our series is done, and you can go
Okay.
and binge watch everything in the universe and have it all
Binge one.
kind of connect and stuff. I think that'll be super cool.
All right. So, my next question is no more torture. Marissa Dunklin. Did I pronounce her name right?
Duncan,
She,
yeah.
yeah. Well, Duncan portrayed your companion Lily for the pilot series and Doctor Who Regenerated.
hmm
So, how did you get the actress to portray your companion in both series for a long time?
So she's actually a friend of mine. From
All
that
right.
we met at church, and she was one of the
Okay.
first people that I met that was also a Doctor Who fan. So
Okay.
the actress who played Chloe in the pilot series, the first companion,
All
she's
right.
kind of the one who got us into Doctor Who because she got my friend into Doctor Who,
Oh,
who
okay.
then got me into Doctor Who. So
All
she
right.
was our first choice. But when she was no longer able to, Marissa was definitely my next choice because she
All
was
right.
a huge Doctor Who fan, still is, and she was excited about it. She wanted to act in it. She was like, I wish you could have got me sooner. Like, she was just as excited about it as we were, so it worked out
All
really
right.
well.
So, next question is about Johnson. So, for the audience who's watching don't know, Johnson is this sort of like Handos character.
hmm
Handos is from Doctor Who. He's sort of like he's like he's a jack o' lantern, not a real jack o' lantern, like those kids
Computer.
Halloween bags you
Yeah.
that they would do for trick or treating. He has a disembodied head. He's in the Doctor's TARDIS console room. He likes to make fun of Calvin for some reason, and he's like sort of like an Alexa for the TARDIS. That's the best I could explain it. I'm
Yeah, yeah.
sorry if you don't like Alexa. So, my question is, how did you come up with the idea for Johnson?
So Johnson has an interesting backstory. It's really funny
All
and
right.
kind of dumb. But actually, my friends and I used to play Minecraft all the time. And I would always
Okay.
call Minecraft pumpkins Johnsons because there was some YouTuber that did it. And I was like,
Okay.
oh, they're all Johnsons. So I'm going to call pumpkins Johnsons now. And we were writing an episode, and my friend actually found that pumpkin in his basement one time, and he's like, hey, we could put
Okay.
Johnson in the series, and we could make him like handles and actually give him like a personality and stuff. So we're like,
All
all
right.
right, let's do it. So it was actually kind of more a joke at first in the pilot series, where my doctor
Okay.
just finds him in the woods and starts talking to a pumpkin. Like it was kind of just a joke of my doctor talking to some pumpkin thing
Yeah.
that clearly isn't alive, just kind of for a joke. And then we decided to kind of make it the computer interface of the TARDIS so it can talk and
All
stuff
right.
like that. So it was kind of it was I don't even really remember deciding to do it. Really, it was kind of just happened.
Okay.
Like I don't remember any like, all right, we're gonna make him the computer voice and all this stuff. It kind of just happened. Like we introduced him and then we just kept going with it, and it was something that people liked. And we're like, oh, we have to have Johnson in the TARDIS. So even when we made Doctor Who Regenerated, we introduced him in the first episode, where the
Okay.
Doctor just finds him on a ship, and it's kind of just like gotta have Johnson. Like he's the
Yeah.
companion. He's the companion to the Doctor when there's no other companions.
That that's that's a friend you'll never let go of.
Yeah, kind of. He's kind of
So
like K9.
yeah, K9. Except K9 actually belongs to Sarah Jane Smith now,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
then I heard the actress died, so the character died. So I don't know what happens to K9 now.
Yeah, I don't
Uh,
know.
you you could check you could check on the Doctor Who wiki, but I'm not going to do that right now. So speaking of companions, sort of. Um, so in the third episode of your series called the Calvin Verse, we got introduced to this pathetic janitor named Jerry. No, I'm sorry,
Calvin.
Calvin. I didn't.
Yeah.
All right, so Calvin's basically been divorced twice. He's been made fun of by the Doctor and Johnson constantly, and and people around him are like really mean to him. So my question is, so when you came up with the idea for Calvin, what made you decide for him to be this pathetic character that no one likes?
So Calvin actually has probably more backstory than anyone else. It's really
Okay.
funny. It's really funny. We need to make a Calvin spin-off because there's so
All
much
right.
there's so much like backstory and lore to Calvin that hasn't been told yet.
All
Um,
right.
so Calvin was actually a joke my friend made up in high school. He just started talking in this voice and basically made up this character of Calvin as this failed he was a failed band manager,
Okay.
and he like had all these ex-wives and stuff, and he was
Uh-huh.
kind of like a joke character that we made up just as a joke.
Yeah.
And then we were making the episode and we're like, what if we put Calvin in it? And we did. So he already existed kind of as a joke in high school as a character, and then we just put him in our Doctor Who series and
Oh,
made
I
him.
get
We
it.
kind of made him the comedic relief character. Um,
All right.
so yeah, that's kind of where he came from. And my doctor was pretty mean to him. That's probably gonna
Yeah.
change a little bit in the future, but
All right.
I realize now looking back on it, everybody was really mean to him, like too much.
Yeah.
So I'll have to change that a little bit in the future, but yeah, Calvin's a lot of fun, and a lot of people liked him. Like, a lot of people want him to come back, and everybody said that they loved Calvin, and he's their favorite part. So I thought it was funny that he ended up being people's
When
favorite.
I when I look, well, I don't know if I like Calvin because whenever I look into the mirror, I just see his reflection staring back at me.
Yeah.
That's a joke. I'm not really that. I'm not that far off from my future, so
Oh,
I'm
you're
fine.
good.
It's a joke. I'm not really Calvin. If I
No.
was, I probably would. I'm trying to think of a joke. Okay, maybe I am Calvin.
I don't
Okay,
know.
so the third episode that I mentioned earlier, the Calvin verse, is probably the most ridiculous episode of your series. It's like where
Yes.
it's like irrelevant to the structure. There's like a scene where Calvin killed a zoo animal, and there's a news article next to it, and it's just like the episode's basically all about Calvin having fun, freaking out, and Johnson's like if he does have like a body, he would probably be banging his head right now. So
Yeah.
my question is, how did you decide to make the third episode different from the other? No, that's not a question. How is making the third episode different from making the other episodes?
Mm-hmm. So the Calvin verse episode was actually last minute because
Okay.
we had a whole nother episode there. But last minute we weren't able to film. Like we were supposed to film in a factory and have this
Uh-huh.
episode with like cyborgs and stuff, but we
All
weren't
right.
able to get the location, so we had to make a filler episode to kind of transition into the next one. So we're like, oh, what
Okay.
if we just made an episode about Calvin trying to find the doctor? And
Uh-huh.
it was mostly improvised. We did have kind of an outline script for it of
Okay.
what we wanted to do and where we wanted it to start and end, but it was mostly our episode to put in all of our jokes and like kind of just for fun. Like it wasn't a serious episode at all. It was more just our way of putting
Okay.
all of our dumb inside jokes into an episode and then
Yeah.
like kind of filling in the plot hole.
All right. So this episode, the same episode I mentioned earlier, crossover with the series Lance and Derek.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you decide to tie into both the series?
So there's actually kind of a thing behind that. Like,
Uh-huh.
so every movie we've made on Redemption Studios, we've kind of made our own like MCU, like Redemption Studios
Okay.
cinematic universe, where everything is canon. So
Okay.
like Lance and Derek is canon to the Doctor Who series,
All
and
right.
Calvin is kind of our way of bridging that gap, like connecting them because Calvin is
Okay.
Derek's brother, his like step brother. So it was kind of a connection. It was kind of more like just a joke, but we're like it would be kind of interesting if we kind of connected everything. So
Yeah.
we actually um our upcoming Han Solo fan film is actually a Calvin cameo in it, which is really
Oh.
funny.
Oh,
So
that's cool.
um keep an eye out for that. So yeah,
Oh, I will.
Calvin just kind of became a joke, and we're like, what if we just
Okay.
put Calvin in everything, like in the background, even if he's not a main character, just kind of put him
All
in
right.
everything to be funny, and that's kind of a way of connecting stuff.
That
But
is so cool.
it was more just kind of a joke than anything, but it kind of became something where like, all right, let's just keep going with it.
All right. So
But
another.
I do want to make a Calvin spin-off at this point because
Okay.
he's like the center, he's like the Stan Lee
I am
of the
looking forward to that.
universe.
Stanley.
He
So
basically
Calvin
is.
Calvin created the entire universe.
Yeah, basically.
Ha. Okay, my next question is, your doctor from the pilot series and the current series referenced that they were both Bill Murray from Space Jam. Why is that why is that why did you decide to make that the case?
That was it. That was another joke by
Okay.
the guy who plays Calvin, Jeremy.
Yeah.
Actually made that joke because
Okay.
Space Jam was one of our favorite movies, and
Of course.
we kind of referenced it and thought it'd be funny to throw it in there. It's kind of just a joke line, like my doctor was Bill Murray, but I forgot that we put that in both. I think that was just our way of referencing Space Jam somehow in the
All right.
movies.
It is a good movie.
It is great documentary
Ha. Yeah.
that
Great
actually
documentary.
happened.
Uh, I love Michael Jordan. So any other silly tie-ins that I didn't mention?
Um, let's see, not really that I can think of. Besides
All right.
Lance and Derek, Space Jam.
Okay. All right. So the next so next questions will not be comedic relief. So prepare for I guess like a neutral tone.
Mm-hmm.
So in the next episode after the Calvin verse, it's more serious. I forgot what it was called. What was it? It was
It was
the episode
Masquerade, I think.
Masquerade. Yeah. So in Masquerade episode, we got introduced to these species known as Immacumites, where they could basically shapeshift into humans.
Mm-hmm.
So there was basically a storyline in the episode where Juliandus the Fifth, No, the fourth, I think.
One of
Yeah.
them, I don't remember.
Julianus the Fourth began her invasion on Earth when Barack Obama was elected president. So, and it also introduced Jack Holt. It also gets the Doctor to work with UNIT, which is
Mm-hmm.
Jack Holt, who had to rebuild who had to rebuild the organization after the invasion incident. So my question is, will we see more of those storyline elements in other episodes?
Yes, actually, Unit is
All
gonna
right.
come back pretty early on in series 2, and there's actually gonna be a new head of Unit. Because
Okay.
you'll find out if you notice that the same actor who played Jack Holt played the Master. There's gonna be kind of a connection there.
Oh, cool. I
So
did not know that
there's
actually.
gonna
Now
be
that you
a
mention it, I see it.
yeah, there's gonna be a new, and that wasn't planned. Um,
Okay.
we actually had another actor planned to be the Master, and last minute he wasn't able to do it. And the my friend Zach, who played the unit guy, I'm like, he's a good actor. He knows the part well, so I just had him do
Okay.
it, and it ended up working out really well. I think his Master and my Doctor play off of each other really well. So I'm
So,
excited about
okay,
that.
go ahead. Okay, so in the next episode, reflection. So in the reflection, we got introduced to this sort of story arc where the master is seeking one of the time stones, which the time stone there's one that controls reality and one controls time.
Mm-hmm.
So the Doctor, Lily, and the Master both went into the white T-shirt dimension, where the Master found
Yeah.
one of the time stone that the Doctor himself has hidden.
Mm-hmm.
So my question is, in the flashback we got in the episode, we see the Clockwork Doctor being handed the stones by the president, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
But in the next scene, we see another version of the Doctor hiding the stones. So was there a continuity error, or am I just stupid?
No, so the actual, I think in the dialogue it said a long time ago which face it doesn't matter because like
Okay, yeah.
my doctor doesn't remember the face that he had at that
Oh,
point in
okay.
time.
So it's based off his memory.
So it's based on his memory. So it's more of like a we don't know which doctor it was. It's just showing different
Okay.
versions because like so another thing with our with the clock like our doctors in the Oracle, there
Uh huh.
technically is more doctors in the timeline that are outside of like the Oracle section of the universe, like those
Of
five
course.
doctors. So there's doctors before and after us, but
All right.
we kind of don't either we don't remember them or there's not a specific order to them. The idea is that the doctor's so old at this point that he doesn't remember all of his faces and he doesn't remember how old he is or how what number he is. So that's why we go by names instead of like numbers, like the Clockwork
Okay.
Doctor, the Bowler Hat Doctor, stuff like that. So the idea with that scene was kind of just like, um, all right. So at one point in the past, the Doctor was given the stones to hide. It doesn't really matter which face, but for the sake of telling the story, we're gonna use this face because it's the face that the audience knows. And like the
Okay.
one scene, we got my friend to dress up like the Fourth Doctor.
All right.
Um, the show not being canon with the actual show, it wasn't necessary. It didn't make a whole lot of sense that we did that, but
Okay.
so we kind of make he's kind of considered one of the scattered doctors. My friend Forrest, who is
All
like a
right.
similar to the Fourth Doctor, and we call him scattered because he's not part of the Oracle timeline, but he's like
Okay.
a forgotten doctor in the timeline, I guess you could say, and it doesn't really matter where he's at in the timeline. There's not like a specific
Okay.
order. He's just kind of there, like an extra.
All right.
So that's kind of
So,
why we did that.
all right. Um, okay, so next question is, so obviously we got introduced to the story arc, like I mentioned, about the time stones. So why did you decide to start at Reflection, the episode that literally ends series one?
So why did we decide to wait to introduce the time stones?
Yeah, yeah,
So
basically at
actually,
Reflection.
if you rewatch Comprehension, there's actually a scene where my doctor's in bed sleeping, and there's this very quick flash of like visions, and you can actually
Okay.
see the stones in one of the visions,
Oh, okay, that's cool.
as well as previous incarnations of the Doctor. So it kind of was hinted at, and there's a point I'm trying to remember the episode where they meet Calvin and the portals start opening up. It's kind of
Okay.
reference. It's reference that those cracks in time are opening up because there's something wrong with time, like something's being disrupted, and
Okay.
that's kind of hinting towards the time stones being found.
All
Um,
right.
so it was kind of hinted at throughout the series, but it wasn't like really shown what it is until the finale. So yeah, we did kind of wait. We tried to put little hints throughout the series before that to kind of build up to it. And if you know, the Master said the Time Twister's rising in the darkness or something like that. So
Yeah.
that's something
Time
that's going to come
twisters.
into play later on too, with that. So it's kind of like and something else I'm gonna mention now because I know people are gonna ask about it and probably have.
Okay. Go
It
ahead.
was not intentionally ripping off Marvel that there is time
Oh,
and
I was going to
reality
ask about
stones.
that.
So actually, I actually came up with the idea for these stones when we decided to make a reboot the series instead of doing series 3. I came up with
Okay.
the villain. I'm not gonna say the villain's name, but I came up with the
Okay.
villain, and he was going to have these powers and stuff to kind of mess with reality and time. And we're like, all
All
right,
right.
well, that's kind of overpowered, so maybe we shouldn't give him just that ability. So what if we had like artifacts like stones that had these abilities, and he like used those stones to have that ability and everything. So that was kind of the way we came up with the stones. Like a couple months later, Infinity War came out, and I'm like, oh
Uh
crap, they it's the same thing. And I didn't at the time, like I didn't know enough about the Marvel comics to really know that
Okay.
those stones existed. So we're actually going to be calling them the time crystal and reality crystal in the next series to kind of
Okay.
change that up a little bit.
Or you might worry that Disney could sue.
Yeah, don't want Disney suing or anything,
All right.
but
Okay. Luckily, this show isn't on Disney Plus. This podcast isn't on Disney Plus, so we could say about Disney all we want.
yeah.
Next question is about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but I'm going to skip that because you mentioned it. So the next question is: the Master in the episode mentioned there's a greater power present, which he seeked when he's seeking the Time Stone. What can you tell us about the greater power? It's obviously something
Um
following up.
Yes. So the greater power is it's gonna be cool. I'm excited for him.
All
He's
right.
a character that I kind of thought about during the pilot series. He was gonna be when we decided to not use the Valiard, I was gonna introduce him. But I'm like, what I think it would be better if we introduce him at the beginning and kind of reboot the series and have him be the villain. He's more of an
Okay.
original villain. Um, so I'm excited. He's actually like he's a made up character, so he's not an actual Doctor Who character. But
Okay.
he is kind of put in the Time Lord like history section. Like Time Lords know about this character kind of as a legend or something like that. So
All right.
he is a character that has existed for a long time, and he's kind of returning, and the Doctor's like kind of remembering him. Um, the Master's kind of working for him at this point.
Okay.
Um, but I don't want to spoil a whole lot. But you will find out a lot more in series 2, diving into that character and
All right.
the storyline with that.
Okay, so my next question is: at the end of the episode, we saw the Doctor about to return the Time Stone to the President of Gallifrey, but then immediately gets it back, and the President's like, no, or something. I forgot his exact words. So, does that mean that the Clockwork Doctor is now a wanted fugitive in Gallifrey? And before you answer, I know like he's always been a fugitive, and Gallifrey
Yeah,
always hates him. So, I mean, is he a wanted fugitive for this specific crime?
kind of. Yeah,
All right.
because so basically the Time Lords know that if these stones, the Time and Reality Stone or Time and Reality Crystal now get into the wrong hands, that it could be really bad. So
Okay.
they're trying to get the Doctor to go find both stones and bring them back to Gallifrey so that they can protect them. But the
Okay.
whole point of them being scattered and hidden was to protect them from being found. So the Doctor is like, you're just gonna put them both in the same place where the bad guy can get them, and that's not a good idea.
Yeah.
So that's why
That's
the Doctor decided to take the stone instead of give it back to the Time Lords. So
okay.
he has it with him in series 2. Um, so he's kind of like trying to figure out what to do with it. Because while he has it, it's kind of messing up time because like it's out of because someone found the time stone and messed with it. Like a person
All right.
handling it kind of is messing with time, so he has to figure out
Okay.
what to do with it. So the Time Lords are mad at him, and they're like
Yeah.
trying to get him. They're trying to get the stone back from him, so that
Of course.
he is wanted by them right now, and
All right.
because not only do they want the stone from him, but they also want him to get the other one, and
Okay.
he's like refusing. So,
All right.
but he still doesn't really remember where the other one is because his
Of
memory
course.
was erased.
All right.
So it's
All
kind of
right.
like they want him to do it. He doesn't want to. He thinks it's a bad idea, and they're trying to get the other
Uh-huh.
stone back from him. So,
Okay. So in my next question is in your video that I mentioned earlier, Doctor our fan films Doctor Who Explained, you mentioned that there's an alternate version of the Doctor that exists outside of the Doctor Who Oracle universe or multiverse, depends how you mention it, which that appeared in the audio stories by someone by a channel named RJH Productions. So I recently looked into his channel, but I only found one video where it's called "Please Say Moo," which people would describe as toxic or cringy or just meme
oh,
like a adjective. So the point is that the audio that you mentioned is nowhere to be found. Is there an explanation that you know of that you could
so
mention?
yeah. So um, I was friends with someone, and they had a channel and a timeline. They've since taken down the channel because of videos like that, where it's kind of been bullying and toxic things. Where
Okay.
I was part of another timeline, and I had an alternate Doctor in their timeline. That no longer is really exists because of some of the things that
Okay.
happened with them. I'm not gonna say a whole
All right.
bunch, but
That
it's
that's fair.
basically like they took it down. I think they're making a new channel under a different name now,
Okay.
but I'm no longer part of any timelines besides the Oracle and like the My Pilot series now. So that's no.
Okay.
I mean, it was something that I was like, here you can have. I'll make another Doctor for your timeline because um, your timeline doesn't fit with mine, so I'll just make another version of my Doctor for you that you can use, and that's no longer really a thing. So, like I said before, me and Luke kind of after a lot of stuff happened, we decided to kind of just keep our stuff with the Oracle and just not let anybody else really use our Doctors or anything.
All right. All right. So my next question is whenever it's about the franchise again, whenever you or someone else of the franchise came up with a new Doctor Who story, and then you obviously write a script for it, but before you film or release it, do you like have to consult? Do you or whoever wrote the episode for their series had to consult with the other members to see if it fit in the continuity? Like, let's say if you made a new episode where the Doctor is revealed to I don't to be against Daleks or something. But in another series, the one of the doctors after you mentioned that that she never made a protest against Daleks. So, do you guys
Mm-hmm.
consult the script before you release it?
So we haven't really had that issue yet because
Okay.
I made my Doctor Who Regenerated series before a lot of other people started doing anything else. Like I was one of the first
Okay.
people to actually make a series, and Ruben Roper, so Imagine Productions, he has a series too, and he
Okay.
actually made his before I made Regenerated, but he's kind of gone on to explain that other continuity issues, like there was other doctors in his timeline and stuff.
Uh-huh.
Those are now like the scattered doctors, so they're not really part of the Oracle section of the timeline now. They're just kind of
All right.
doctors that are just in the past somewhere that don't really have much importance to the storylines or anything.
Okay.
Um, but so that we haven't really had that issue. I've had an outline, and I still do have a plan for the rest of my Doctor's era. Series
Okay.
2, probably going to be a movie after that, to
All
kind of
right.
finish things up. And then, so I've had this document for a while where I've kind of added to things and changed things. And my friend, like Luke Lane and Brianna and Kayla, they all have access to that document. So they've
All
kind of
right.
chipped in ideas too. And like Luke has a full on document too about his era and everything. And
Okay.
we have some like continuity things between me and Luke, but I'm also gonna be making Micah's audio series, The Doctor Before Me. So
All right.
we're gonna kind of use his era to kind of bridge that gap and help kind of fill
Okay.
in some of that information that we need to fix. And then
All right.
with the time and reality stones, I'm able to kind of retcon some things. So like if say somebody kills the Daleks in the past,
Okay.
I can kind of use that to bring them back if I need to, or something like that. Or like the Doctor
Okay.
After Me, if the Doctor After Me needs to do anything, we can kind of figure out a way to do it. But as of right now, we really haven't had that problem. I'm sure we
All right.
will at some point.
Yeah, of course.
For the most part, I have like Luke at least read my scripts and like give me feedback, and he'll do the same with me.
Okay.
So we do kind of get to see each other's scripts, and typically they don't directly affect each other's series. Just the bigger stuff that
Okay.
kind of references each other and stuff like that. But so far we seem to be pretty consistent with it and haven't really had
All
any
right.
issues. So that's been good. But I'm sure I haven't been making Doctor Who for a long time. Like we
Okay.
filmed Regenerated in 2016, and I'm just now writing series 2 because it's been
Oh, okay.
crazy, the audio series.
Yeah.
But so it's been kind of like I'm just now kind of getting back into the Doctor Who mindset.
All right.
So I haven't. I'm sure I'll have to consult with Luke a bit more with that. And
Okay.
Luke being a doctor that's in my past, it's not as big of an issue. Where like for him, he has to worry more about what he does because my future is already set. If that makes
All right.
sense.
That
So
makes
that's
sense.
kind of a thing that we have to work through. But so far it's been pretty good, and we all enjoy working with each other and have been able to kind of work things out pretty well.
All right. So, next question is about your TikTok series on TikTok.
Oh yeah,
uh, it's called the Doctor Who Clockwork Adventures, which actually got me on the wiki to create a page for TikTok.
really?
So,
That's
yeah,
funny.
what can you tell us about the TikTok series?
So that was actually kind of more of a thing just for fun.
All right.
Luke, Brianna, and I wanted to do some kind of Doctor Who TikTok tag thing where we
Okay.
kind of combined stuff. So that's not actually canon
Oh, okay.
to the Oracle. I mean, maybe it is. Actually,
Okay.
no, I think it might be.
It
But
might be.
it's kind of in a weird, like we don't actually know if it is or not. We said like maybe it
Okay.
would be canon, but we aren't really doing it anymore, so it's not like hugely important.
Okay.
I kind of had an idea that it would be canon between series 1 and 2 for my Doctor because there's kind of a time gap. There's like a 2 year time gap between series one
O-
and two
Okay. Oh, that's
of
cool.
my series. So there's some time where like my Doctor is aged and Lily's life has changed a bit. So there's like kind of time where like say the TikTok thing could be during that time or
All right.
later on. So there's time gaps and stuff, but it's not necessarily officially canon. It's kind of just like, oh, it could be canon, but we never really decided if it was or wasn't.
So it's undecided.
Yeah.
So if that's the case on
It's like the Star Wars holiday special.
the well, actually, I think it is. I'm not a fan of Star Wars, so I can't speak for the fans. But I think it is canon to the Star Wars universe because in the Mandalorian, as I never watched the series, but I heard that they referenced something from the holiday special.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Yep. So it might be canon.
It might
Uh,
be.
I consider every project that's part of a franchise, even if it's irrelevant to a structure, I consider all of them to be canon, as long
Hmm.
as the creators say it's not canon.
Yeah.
But since you say that the TikTok series might be canon, there's probably going to be a separate page for both Doctors.
Yeah.
All right, unless if you confirm that they're the same universe, but that's not the case. So my next question is, a YouTube channel named BIG Films made a review of your series.
Yeah.
Those aren't my words, they're his. Who called it cliche and said that your series is funny because it's bad. So,
Yeah.
have you seen it? What's your response to
I
it?
have seen it. I actually was
Okay.
really entertained by that video. And he
All
brought
right.
up I mean he was a bit harsh at some points, but
Yeah.
he also brought up a lot of good points and a lot of good critiques, and it's actually
Okay.
helped me kind of figure out where I'm going to take the series next. Like he brought up a point about all the inside jokes
All
where
right.
it's hard for the audience to understand because they don't get the inside jokes. And that was something that like me and my friends making the episodes had all these jokes and we were putting them in because we thought it was funny, but when other people saw it they were just confused. So like that's why like we're kind of getting rid of the inside jokes in series 2 and everything and trying to make it more serious. And like there are definitely fan film cliches that you don't even think about. Like
Yeah.
he actually did another video about like comparing all the fan films with like a bingo card with all the cliches.
I saw
um,
that.
so there
I
is different like fan film cliches, like where the master
uh-huh.
is like the master is a hidden character and then reveals themselves to be the master, or like the
Huh.
master travels with the doctor, or different
Yeah.
things like that. So there are like some cliches that I almost didn't even think about when I was making it, and it's not even necessarily cliches amongst Doctor Who or amongst film, but it's cliches amongst fan films. So it's like, yeah, I mean that's something. So I did find that video funny. Every once in a while I'll go back and watch it. I remember the
All
first time
right.
I saw it I was like a little offended, but it was like mostly
Yeah.
just I thought it was funny, and I do enjoy it, and I've showed it to people because I mean it was cool for me when somebody watched my fan films and reviewed them. I
Of
thought that
course.
was cool because that's like never happened to me before. And like I've only been on a few podcasts, and like doing this is really fun. Um,
All right.
but so it was fun. I enjoy it. I no hard feelings there. I think it's funny.
All
He
right.
brought up some
That's
good
good.
points, and it's his opinion. So do as he does, I guess.
All right. So, and my next question is about Seinfeld. So, both series, the pilot series and current series, both reference Seinfeld. Why the sudden reference to Seinfeld? Do you have any connection to the show?
It's one of my favorite shows,
All
and my
right.
friend Forrest, who plays Lance, it's also one of his favorite shows. So actually, Lance and Derek was heavily inspired by Seinfeld and a few other
Okay.
shows. So when we made that, it was kind of like Seinfeld inspiration. It was kind of like an inside. It was another one of those inside jokes where it was like most of the
Okay.
cast members had jokes with the show. We all liked the show, so we would put subtle references to it in there just because we thought it was funny. It wasn't anything like hugely important or anything. It was more the
Okay.
joke. And then we
Yeah.
have the painting of Kramer from Seinfeld in the TARDIS,
Oh, I
which
did not know that because I never watched the show.
yeah, it's actually in there, and it's pretty funny because we put it in there as as kind of a Easter egg, but it
All
like
right.
matches the TARDIS console room color scheme and like the feel of it so well that we just left it in there because it like fit perfectly.
So the next question, I just only came up with now. It still has something to do with Seinfeld. So I didn't recently watch. A while ago, I watched the first couple minutes of the pilot episode for Seinfeld, and let me tell you something. I did not like it. I don't like the humor. I just didn't enjoy it.
Mm.
So, what's your advice for me? Is it just a pilot that's not? Is it just a pilot? I don't. Is it just a pilot I just shouldn't watch, or should I just continue watching the series?
So actually, I totally get that. Like, it's not for everyone. It's definitely like
Yeah.
it's like an older show, and a lot of the humor is different
Yeah, that's true.
than it is now. I my favorite season like it. The first two seasons aren't that great. I think it gets
Okay.
good in like season 3. The later seasons are usually funnier. I enjoy those more. But so yeah,
Okay.
the pilot I don't really like the pilot that much either, to be
Oh, okay.
honest.
So you
So
understand me.
yeah, try if you want to watch the later seasons, go for it. If you don't like it, that's
Okay.
totally fine. Like it's not for
All right.
everybody.
That's true. I saw an episode of Lance and Derek where they even were like they accused a neighbor of stealing Seinfeld, and he's like, it's just a cliche show. So I just thought I'd
Yeah,
put that
yeah,
up. It's not a question. It's just a fact.
yeah.
So next question, continuing from Doctor Who, you released a sneak peek for Series 2, which is confirmed to be an audio series.
Uh huh.
So what? So So it's obviously due to COVID-19, or maybe not, but if it is, how does COVID-19 affect the production of your series, and how does it make it an audio series?
So the reason it is partly because of COVID-19, but
Okay,
that's not like the main reason. We actually decided to make it an audio series before COVID-19 happened. Um,
okay,
So we I've been, if you count the pilot series, I've been making Doctor Who fan films for like 5 years, a little over
Okay.
that, probably over that now, because
Yeah,
actually,
probably.
yeah, this year this year is the 5 year since we made the first fan film. So technically, and I'm still technically making them, even though it's audios. So I've been making Doctor Who fan films for 5 years, and it was something like after we made the first season of Regenerated, um, I was planning on making a second live action series, but we found a lot of issues making it. Like it was hard to get people back, and
All right.
filming was difficult. And then I actually started on the Han Solo fan film project, which
Okay.
we started that in 2017. Just finished filming like a couple weeks ago on that. Like that
Oh,
took a long
wow.
time. Excited for that one too.
All right.
But so we were working on that, and like Doctor Who series 2 was kind of like on the back burner. I wanted to take a break from Doctor Who for a while because
That makes sense.
I've been doing it for at least 3 years in a row at that
All
point,
right.
and I wanted to kind of be done with it. And
Okay.
for a season, I wasn't even really into Doctor Who for a while. For at least a couple years, probably in like 2018 and 2019, I wasn't really hugely into Doctor Who, and that wasn't
All
even
right.
because the show I kind of just wasn't in the phase anymore. I was getting
That
into
makes
the Han
sense.
Solo fan film. I wanted to make
Yeah,
other stuff, and I was kind of
that
just
makes sense.
I wasn't with Doctor Who at the moment. Um, so I was like, I kind of just want to be done with this Doctor Who stuff. I was like, I want to be done with it, but I want to be able to finish the storyline that I started,
Okay.
and that wasn't something that I could do with like a few episodes. So Luke and I actually talked a bit. I'm like, what if we made we both kind of agreed, like, what if we made an audio series for series 2, and then I could always go back and make a live action finale for a movie or something if I wanted.
All right.
So it kind
So,
of became like series 2 we're going to do an audio because it's easier. It's less money and less time. We have a bit more freedom with monsters we can do that we
all
wouldn't have
right.
the budget to do live action. So we decided to do an audio series, and then after a while, COVID did happen. So it was like, all
Okay.
right, well, we can still work on this, and it was kind of like it will be easier doing audios. We haven't really started recording a whole lot of it yet. We're still in the writing stage, and
Okay.
like I said, we just finished filming our Han Solo fan film, which
All
hopefully will
right.
be out next year at some point. So we have a lot to
Okay.
do on that, as well as our Dark Dimension Doctor Who episode, which we actually filmed that episode in 2018 and somewhat in 2020 when Luke visited here, and
Okay.
that's taken us a while to finish. So yeah, we kind of just decided to make an audio because it would be easier, and we could it would help us kind of finish out the story arc
All
faster,
right.
and it'd be easier to make and still be able to finish the storyline we wanted to tell.
All right. So after you release the sneak peek, what can you tell the viewers? So what can you tell the audience, your audience, to? Okay, hold up. How's it different from series one? What can you tell the audience to expect from it?
It's gonna be a lot more serious than series one,
Oh, okay.
and it's gonna be darker. The Doctor is kind of in a darker season.
Uh
Like
huh.
where I said before, how the first one is kind of more that coping mechanism from the
All
war,
right.
is like funny jokes, memes, where series 2 is more like the Doctor's like, okay, I don't need to be like this all the time. He's kind of getting over the past, so he's a
Uh
bit
huh.
more grounded in who he is, and then more things happen that kind of make him go back into that war mindset. Not fully. He never really goes back because he's kind of afraid of his past at the same
Yeah.
time. He's kind of
Everyone is.
he's afraid of being the war doctor again, but he also
Okay.
is kind of like distraught and dark and goes through. So he's very angry at points, and he's very like stubborn and angry throughout this, probably the later half of series 2. There's certain things that happen throughout the series that kind of make him more dark, and then towards the end of that series 2, he kind of comes back to who he really is and finding himself, where it's kind of a balance of good, like both, where he's not too jokey or memes, but he's also not too serious. So it's kind of a balance of like going from the memes and jokes into more serious dark tone and then back kind of to a normal balance. But it is more serious. Calvin is gonna come back
Okay.
because the doctor himself is more serious. Calvin will be kind of the lighthearted part of the series.
Okay, that's cool.
The relationship between Calvin and the doctor is gonna kind of change a bit because at first the doctor is still just mad at him and
All
is
right.
mean to him, but throughout the series I think the doctor is gonna kind of warm up to him and kind of treat him better like a normal companion, but
Yeah.
more like a Nardole type character.
Okay,
Um,
I see what you mean.
so
So,
Calvin
uh,
is still Calvin, but the doctor will be a bit
all
nicer
right.
to him.
That's nice. Lighthearted moment. So recently you released a trailer for something called Doctor Who Dark Dimension, like you mentioned earlier, which will introduce Luke Lane. Well, I don't know if it'll introduce, but it will feature Luke Lane as a bowler hat doctor. So my question is, I'm going to give you a series of questions. So my questions are: is it a film, a special, or an episode of the series? Next, what can you tell us about it without any spoilers? And will it fit into the story arc of Reflection?
Um, so it is not. It is a an episode, but it's also kind of a special.
Okay, it's
Because
a special.
it's the 5 year anniversary special of me doing fan films. So there
Okay,
is some references to the pilot series in it, kind of referencing it.
all right.
And then it's the first time that me and Luke's doctors will be together live action like in person. So it's
Okay.
kind of it is actually Luke Lane's first appearance live action as the doctor because
Oh,
he
cool.
has audio stuff.
Uh huh.
So it's kind of funny. His doctor will be in person in my series before his series, but
Okay.
yeah. So it's kind of his kind of live action appearance for the first time. The episode actually takes place about halfway through season two, so it's actually not right after series one.
All right.
The episode takes place about midway through series two, but
Okay.
we're releasing it first because there's kind of like we reference something that happens in series two without saying what like how it happens. So like when people see Dark Dimension, it's gonna get them excited for series two because like they'll start to like be
Okay.
like, all right, this thing happens, this is big, and now we have to watch series two to find out what it is. But it's
All right.
also kind of like it's interesting. It's kind of like the River Song Doctor timeline out of order. So it's kind of
Okay.
just like how we're releasing the episode before the episodes that happened before it. So it's kind of weird, but I think it's gonna be cool. The episode we actually filmed back in 2018, Luke visited me because he lives in a different state than I do, and he visited
Okay.
in 2018, and we filmed this episode as well as we filmed a Lance and Derek episode, and
All right.
so we filmed it. There was a few scenes we weren't able to finish filming, so we kind of were
Okay.
like, all right, well, we can't really finish this episode, so we just kind of put it on the back burner. I have the footage and everything still, and we sat on it for a long time. Luke came back this year, kind of before everything happened, and
All
we were
right.
able to visit and stuff. And we didn't really film anything else for it, but we were able to kind of figure out how we can still use that old footage and like, all right, we're gonna kind of piece together the episode, make a new episode out of it, and kind of film
Okay.
some new parts to kind of fill the gaps where it's my doctor telling the story. So the episode is kind of a past tense thing where my
All
doctor
right.
is actually telling the story of the episode to someone
Okay. Narration.
to kind of fill in the gaps. So it's gonna be a bit different than any of our episodes that we've done yet. It is more serious than I guess it's mostly more serious than the pilot series, but there's also some jokes in there to the pilot series and stuff. So
All right.
it'll be I'm really excited for it though. It's definitely one of my favorite episodes we've done so far.
All right. So, um, okay. So in the trailer there was a release date. Um, so my original question is, how do you manage to film before pandemic? But then I look on your Facebook page that you announced the release date has changed. So my new question
hmm
is, why the change in release date, and why, and before you change it, why did you decide on this release date?
So the original release date was September 15th, which is the day when I first uploaded my very first Doctor Who fan film 5 years ago. It was the same day.
Okay.
So the goal was to get it done that same day, so it could be like actually a 5 year anniversary on the day.
All right.
But we had some technical difficulties with Premiere wasn't working right. There was a
Okay.
few things I still hadn't edited, and there was a few bits of narration I had to record. And with working all the time, there wasn't really the time to do it, so we did delay the release
Okay.
of the episode. I'm right now working on it again. Like I got the issues fixed with Premiere, so we're actually back
All right.
editing it and
Okay.
recording some stuff. I'm hoping that we can maybe get it out for Halloween, but I'm not
Okay.
positive because that's pretty close. So, but if not, it'll definitely come out this year, like by the end of
All
this
right.
year.
I'll be
So
looking
if
forward
not,
to it.
a Halloween special, maybe a Christmas special. But the idea is that it's the 5 year anniversary of our fan films. So that's kind of the goal of it. At least
Okay.
if we can get it out this year, it'll still count.
Yeah. So, my question is, have you checked the wiki I'm running lately? And is there any if you did, assuming if you did, is there any criticism or praise you would like to say about the wiki that's covering your series?
Um, so I actually haven't looked at it in a few weeks. I looked at it a couple weeks ago, and I did
Okay.
like it. I think you've done a great job on it.
Okay, that's a
Um,
relief.
I'll definitely have to. I can look over it some more sometime and kind of give you some more feedback
Okay.
if you want. But as of right now, I can't
Uh,
really think of anything. I think you did a great
okay.
job with it, and it's actually really honoring that you made that because I think that's really cool. That you made that somebody has a wiki about my fan series online. I think that's
Yeah.
really cool. And I definitely will try to promote that some more once I start making some more stuff. I haven't really
Oh,
made a whole
that's
lot of
cool.
content in a while.
Thank. Wow, I did not expect that. Thank you. But if there's like anything you could say criticism, just let me know.
All right,
'Cause
for sure.
you you don't need to fill me up with sugar or whatever the
No, no,
expression.
you're
I
good.
Okay. So my next question it has nothing to do with Doctor Who. It has something to do with your Han Solo film, which you said will be released in 2021. Now, for the Doctor Who viewers who are probably watching this, what can you tell us about the film?
Um, the Han Solo film.
Yeah, the film, the Han
So
Solo film.
yeah, so the Han Solo film, it's definitely different than the Doctor Who stuff we've done because it's Star
Yeah.
Wars. I mean, that's an obvious thing, but it's also
Yeah.
like I feel like the character is very different, and the world
Okay.
that we're kind of playing in is different. It's definitely something. It's more of like a for anybody that's familiar with the characters of Han Solo and Chewie and everything.
All
It's
right.
like just kind of an adventure of those characters between the movies Solo and A New Hope. It's not really
Okay.
heavily referencing any actual Star Wars movies. It's just kind of a oh this could have happened between these movies. It's kind of just a fun adventure with the characters from Star Wars.
All
But
right.
it was a lot of fun to make. Like I said, it's taken us 3 years to film it. I had to recast one of the lead roles 3 times, and that's why it's taken
Okay.
so long. I also rewrote it like 3 or 4 times. So it's taken us a while to get it done, but we actually just wrapped filming like last week. So
All right.
now it's to editing and actually trying to finish it up. But like I said, I'm trying to get Dark Dimension done so we can get that out in a few weeks, hopefully. And
Okay.
then I will be dedicated to finishing this Han Solo fan film to be released in the spring, hopefully. And then I can
All
really
right.
focus more on finishing up Audio Series 2 and the Doctor Who movie that will hopefully come after that.
All right. So I heard you have another series that's actually original. It's not based off anything else as far as I'm aware. It's
Mm-hmm.
called I haven't seen it, so I can't really say anything about it yet. So the series is called Armor of God. What can you tell us about the series?
So the Armor of God is so like I said I had mentioned earlier in the stream
Uh-huh.
how I got into filmmaking through Lord of the Rings, and
Yeah.
our first movie was The Armor of God. That was our medieval fantasy movie called The
Okay.
Armor of God, and it was kind of inspired like by like biblical things. The new one
Uh-huh.
isn't. It's more just fantasy and fantasy, medieval fantasy, mythology, stuff like that. Kind of inspired
Okay.
by like the Bible, but not a whole lot. Like just the name Armor of God is about it. And then,
All right.
so we took that. So, the Armor of God was the first movie we made. Like I said before, we were really young and we didn't have any
Okay.
experience. I had an older friend, a mentor, that he had made movies kind of growing up, so he kind of helped us out and kind of
Okay.
helped show us the ropes of everything. And he was a huge part of the original Armor of God. And we decided we've actually talked about remaking the Armor of God basically ever since I started my Doctor Who pilot series because we
All right.
realized that we've kind of gotten better at filmmaking. We have a YouTube channel now.
Yeah.
We're starting to get an audience. It'd be fun to remake it. So I actually wrote a script in 2016. I started writing a script for an Armor of
Okay.
God reboot. Didn't do anything with it because I was doing Doctor Who stuff, and then I started doing
Yeah.
Han Solo stuff. But I was in a college class, and we were supposed to make a short film, and I kind of wanted to do something like Lord of the Rings. It was also around the
Okay.
same time when the Witcher series came out. I watched that and I was a big fan of it, so I kind of wanted to do something like medieval fantasy, Lord of the Rings, Witcher type
All right.
thing. So I did. So I'm like, all right, what if I did an Armor of God short? So I kind of found the old script, barely used any of it. I kind of rewrote most of it. And we
Okay.
decided to kind of make it a series of short episodes, around like 10, 15-minute episodes. And it would be
All
kind of
right.
something that we can post when we have the time to make it. Not so much like Doctor Who, where we have one every other week, but
Okay.
we have a couple weeks, we have free time. Let's make an Armor of God episode. That way we kind of had something else on the channel when we weren't posting Doctor Who. But
Okay.
the Armor of God is growing. I've been writing a lot of history and like lore and backstory for it, and like building a world kind of around it. So I'm
Okay.
excited to, and my friends have helped with it. Luke actually has contributed to some ideas for it too. Um, and actually, we did film a cameo for him in the next episode of it
All
when he
right.
was here last time. So Armor of God will probably be our next summer project. Probably while we're
Okay.
doing the audio series, we'll be kind of doing Armor of God alongside that. But I have at least around like eight episodes planned right now.
Uh-huh.
There might be more, there might be less. I have ideas for that many, but it's going to be kind of a mini series, fantasy, medieval. So it's very different than anything we've been doing in the past couple of years. So I'm excited to kind of do something a bit different.
All right. You mentioned earlier that that every one of Redemption Studios' work is canon to each other. So does that mean that Armor of God's canon to your Doctor Who series and the Han Solo film and
Um,
Lance and Derek?
so actually, the Armor of God is separate. It's
Oh,
not.
okay.
It's not canon to that.
Okay.
Because I'm actually working on some other things with the Armor of God world. Like I might have some other series take place in the same world, but it is
Okay.
separate. So like I said, like the Doctor Who, all the fan film stuff is kind of connected because it's
Okay.
more of a joke than anything else. Just kind of connecting it because it's funny and kind of have
Uh-huh.
some little references for the people that watch them and stuff. But the Armor of God is a complete separate thing.
All right.
We
Okay,
thought
so
it
my
would
next
be. It's harder to connect fantasy and sci-fi. That's a
yeah,
huge gap. Like time period and like logic of it doesn't really make sense.
it makes
So
sense.
yeah, it's kind of easier to keep it separate.
All right. So my next question is, how did you come up with the name Redemption Studios after you renamed the production company from Not So Amazing Studios?
um, so Redemption Studios was actually something that kind of just came to me. Um,
Okay.
Out of I don't know. I mean, I'm a person of faith, so that kind of was like
Okay.
something for me, like redemption, meaning like me being redeemed or
Yeah.
kind of coming to be myself and everything.
All right.
So redemption was kind of just a word that kind of resonated with me, I guess. And when I
Okay.
actually looked up one of the definitions of redemption that I found online was talking about like redemption was like the fulfilling what you were made to be for fulfilling what you were made to do. So like kind of uh,
Oh,
your
okay.
destiny in a sense, like
I see what you mean.
fulfilling your destiny, kind of like doing what you were made to do. So like I
Okay.
feel like I was made to create movies or stories or content. So like
All right.
Redemption Studios kind of just became like, all right, I feel like this is my calling. So that kind of
Okay.
seemed fitting for that name. And the reason I changed it was because Not So Amazing Studios, one being a really long name, two being
Okay.
something where it was like it doesn't sound, it's not like a good reputation, if that makes sense. Like Not
I
So
I
Amazing
think I sort of get
Studios,
it.
Not So Amazing
Like,
Studios makes it sound
it
like you
sounds
don't make,
self-explanatory.
yeah, like you don't make good content. And people were like,
All
yeah,
right.
you guys need to change it because you're making good stuff now and it's not really relevant. So it was kind of, Not So Amazing Studios was actually just a name I came up with on the fly when we made our original Armor of God because we needed a studio
Okay.
name. And I eventually just thought it was a good idea to change it because I think Redemption is a bit more meaningful to me, and I
Yeah.
think it sounds better.
All right. My next question is like, besides Doctor Who, like we mentioned earlier that you work on multiple projects. So how do you work back and forth? Like you decide to work on Doctor Who, now Star Wars, now the Armor of God, all that stuff.
Um, so it's kind of hard to explain because the way my brain is, I tend to jump around things. Like right now, my main two focuses are Han Solo fan film and Dark Dimension. And
Okay.
those are things because we filmed those things both years ago. We started filming them both years ago, and then like I would film Dark Dimension, didn't finish it. Oh well, we'll take a break from it. So we started making the Han
Okay.
Solo movie. Then I'm like, I kind of want to come back like over quarantine, like when I was in lockdown for COVID.
Uh-huh.
I kind of was looking back over, and that's kind of when I wanted to redo something with Dark Dimension because I was like, I have all this footage, I never got to use it. I can't really film anything for Han Solo right now, so it was kind of me just keeping busy with something else. Um,
Okay.
and it was like a way to kind of take a break from the Han Solo thing for a while. So I think I'll kind of start something and
All
I'll
right.
get through it and then I'll be like I kind of need a break, but I'll have all these other ideas. Like my brain, I keep coming up with ideas for stuff. I have a lot of creative ideas, I guess. I don't know.
All right.
And
You're
um
creative.
yeah,
That's an adjective.
and I'll come up with stuff and it'll be like, "Oh, but I got to finish this first." So like I am sitting here with Han Solo in this Doctor Who episode while I have ideas for so many other projects that I want to make in the future. I have
Uh-huh.
Armor of God. I have spin-offs to Armor of God. I have an original sci-fi series I want to make at some point. Um,
Okay.
so like I keep getting these ideas,
Yeah.
but it's like, all right, I got to finish this first. So like right now I have at least 4 or 5 ideas of things I want to make at some point, but I'm kind of suppressing them
All
until
right.
I finish what I have on my plate right now. Because it's just stressful and impossible to get anything done if you're trying to stretch yourself amongst 5 different things.
Yeah, that
So
makes sense.
like doing 2 things at the same time is hard, but I've been able to kind of at least do it. I've made progress. Like
Mm-hmm.
when I wasn't filming Han Solo, I'd be editing the Doctor Who Dark Dimension, or like,
Okay.
but then we were able to film some Han Solo stuff. So like, all right, we're taking a break from Dark Dimension because the Han Solo thing, we're able to work on that. So it's kind of more just
All
like
right.
when I'm able to work on something, I work on it. If I'm not able to, I'll work on something else.
Okay.
Um, but I have ideas for all these different things, and I try not to uh, start on anything else. And sometimes I'll get a really good idea, and I have to write it down so I don't forget about it, so I can come back to it in the future. So a lot of times I just kind of come up with an idea like the Armor of God thing, where I've actually been writing a lot of stuff for Armor of God because I'll just get ideas and I'll be like, oh, I gotta write this down or else I'm gonna forget about it. All right,
All right.
now that I wrote it down, back to the Han Solo movie. So it's kind of like it's all there in my head. Like my brain
Uh-huh.
is I always get these ideas and I try to like flesh them out on paper or in a Google Doc or something so I have it kind of out so I can kind of focus on what I need to finish first, if that makes any
All right.
sense.
It makes sense.
But it is
So,
difficult. It is difficult to try and do multiple projects, and that's why I've kind of tried to limit myself to like one at a time. Sometimes there's two
okay.
because it's kind of hard to kind of limit yourself. But I've also tend to like start a project while I'm getting close to finishing another project. But that means there's always something for the audience to be looking forward to, which is kind of nice because
Yeah.
like when I was finishing my first season of Doctor Who, I announced my Han Solo
Okay.
fan film, so that's something they could look forward to. As I'm finishing Han Solo, I announce another Doctor Who episode. As that comes out, we announce the audio series or the Armor of God series. As that finishes, we announce the Doctor Who movie. So there's always something that I can kind of keep. All right, we're almost done with this. This is coming up next. So it's kind of
All right.
I have an audience that can expect something in the future. It may take years before that thing happens, but at least they know something else is happening and that I'm actually working on something else.
All right. So my next question is which project do you mainly focus on? But I think you sort of already answered it when you said you work where you work back and forth where you want to focus on one project at a time.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So my next question is after that is are there any profits? Okay, I did heard you had a Patreon, but other than the Patreon, do you have any other like profits coming out of your project, like any monetizations or anything else?
So actually, we are not monetized right now because that was another reason. Like on the old channel, we were almost monetized, but because
Okay.
of the AdSense issue, we weren't able to. So that's kind of why
All
we
right.
switched. Um, so I did have a GoFundMe page for the Han Solo fan film. We were actually able to raise a lot of funds.
Okay.
We were actually able to raise funds for that, which helped a lot.
That's good. Good
Um,
for you.
so that's really how we were able to do that. Right
Uh-huh.
now, I do have a Patreon linked to the Redemption Studios channel, but that's really
Okay.
about it. We don't have a whole lot. There's been a few times, like there was someone we actually met while filming our Han Solo fan film, and we connected on Instagram. And like
All right.
a couple months later, this guy reached out to me and like wanted to donate to my movie and everything. So he sent me
Oh,
some
that's
money.
cool.
So like it was cool, just having that. So not really, we're not really making money on anything right now. We're
Okay.
most of us are working other jobs to kind of support our filmmaking on the side.
Uh-huh.
But it's been good. I mean, so far we're doing pretty well. I think after we release the next couple Doctor Who episodes, Han Solo, like I said before, once we get more new content out on the channel, I think it's gonna help the channel grow some.
Okay.
Especially the Star Wars fan film, I think that's gonna do pretty well. And then
All
Armor of
right.
God is going to be more original, so hopefully that'll kind of bring in some different people like fantasy fans
Hopefully.
and stuff. So
All right. So I noticed that on the Redemption Studios website, you advertise that you're open for live action actors, and I was wondering how many did audition. Like, you mentioned in the advertisement mentioned that there's only that they allow actors in your local area. So my question is, how many did audition?
So we did a casting call for our Han Solo film, and we
Okay.
actually got about 5 or 6 people auditioning. No,
All right.
probably about 5 actually. Where I would kind of respond to them. I'd ask them. They would send me like stuff that they've done if they had a demo reel, and I would send them like some of the script so they could read lines and do like an actual audition with our script and everything. And
Okay.
like there was a few people that just never sent us anything. Like they said they wanted to audition, but when we got back to them, they kind of just didn't say anything else. But
All
we
right.
were able to get we did get 3 or 4 people from that casting call that are in the movie. Like
Okay.
our main one of our main characters is from a casting call, and same with our main bad guy. He's from a casting call. So like we were able to get a
Okay.
lot of people um, from that for our Han Solo movie. So we're definitely going to be doing that more often with our future projects because we were able to get some new people and some people that were really good actors. So I'm really looking forward to seeing. We plan to do a casting call for Armor of God in the spring probably, and
All
we'll see
right.
where that goes.
Okay, so my next question is how did you for all this question is about Doctor Who, but you could mention like it could be overall for all your projects. How did you find the time to do filming? Because obviously there might be some scheduling conflict with the actors' own schedules. How did you find the
Um,
time to film?
filming schedules is probably the hardest thing because
Yeah.
everyone has their own lives and their
Uh-huh.
own hobbies and their own jobs or school. Throughout most of our Doctor Who series, most of us were high school students or college
Okay.
students. So
All right.
during the summer, we didn't have school, so we had off. So
Okay.
I'd pick one day a week, and we'd film on, say, every Tuesday. We'd film, and we'd film from 9 in the morning till like 4 or 5 in the afternoon. And at that point, when we were doing Doctor Who Regenerated, we could finish an episode with 2 filming days because they were like 20-minute episodes. If we had the
Okay.
locations planned out, the sets, if we had everything kind of planned out beforehand, we could film an episode in about 2 days. So we were able to get all those episodes done in one summer. Where Han Solo, um, we started when I was in college. I graduated college now, so I'm just working,
Okay.
and it was harder because most of us were in college or graduating college and had jobs, so it
Yeah.
and as well as like recasting multiple people, we it
Mm-hmm.
took us 3 years to film. Like we started filming in the summer of 2017, I think, or 20
Okay.
2018 actually, and we started filming it, and then actors quit. So we're like, all right, back to the drawing board. We got to get new actors. We have to refilm a few scenes. Yeah, we
Okay.
filmed a lot of scenes without the character anyway, so it wasn't a big deal. And then we came to 2019 where I had an internship over the summer, like a
All
job,
right.
and I couldn't film anything. So 2019 was basically spent doing that, and we wrote some stuff,
Okay.
and that was about it. We didn't film anything. So 2020 came around, we get thrown in lockdown, and I'm like, all right, I got to rewrite. And then we did the casting call, and thankfully we were actually able to get people to film with us over the summer, even with the regulations. We all had to wear masks and
Yeah.
we had to be careful, more careful than we normally
Of
would. But
course.
we were able to do it, and nobody got sick, so we were very fortunate there. But it was definitely difficult. I mean, once we were able to get, typically we've been able to get everyone on a weekly schedule, like one day a week.
All right.
Sometimes people weren't able to make it, so somebody else would have to fill in. Like typically crew, like if somebody couldn't be on camera that day, somebody else would do camera, and then somebody would fill in for them on the boom mic.
All
And
right.
we had actors on the boom mic sometimes. So we were thankfully able to have enough people there most of the time that we were able to get things done. But it was definitely
Okay.
really hard. Like scheduling is definitely probably the hardest part of making a film is like getting people there all at the same time.
Hmm. So my next question is, what film editor do you use?
I use Premiere Pro. I've been using
Okay.
Adobe software for a while.
Adobe Premiere.
Yeah, Adobe Premiere. I used it in college. I have a discount through college.
Okay. Oh, that's cool.
I'm still using it, but I was able to get a discount as a student.
All
Hopefully
right.
that doesn't expire yet because I need to
Hopefully.
make some money to be able to pay for that. But yeah, so hopefully, I mean, it's been working pretty well so far. So that's what I use.
All right. So my next question is, I saw on the Redemption Studios website that you work on this production company, with someone named Grant Spears. What can you tell us about him or her?
So Grant is one of my friends. We grew up together. He actually, when I said earlier how I used to do stop motion Lego stuff as like my very first kind of introduction to films,
You mentioned
he
that?
was part of that. So we
Okay.
actually did that together, and we actually made a channel. We had a little Lego series called Dumbsville, the
Okay.
Adventures in Dumbsville, and I don't know if you've heard of the channel or not, but we made a channel called Dumbsville Channel,
All
and
right.
we did these Lego shorts. At the time, I wasn't like my parents didn't want me to do YouTube because there's a lot of hate on YouTube, and that was something
Yeah.
that I didn't really know about all that. Yeah, at that point, I
Okay.
was really young. Um,
YouTube makes me want to
but
cry sometimes.
Yeah, it does. It's brutal. But
Yeah.
so Grant actually, we're still good friends.
Okay.
So we kind of started doing that, and he actually helped out a lot with the original Armor of God stuff. He
Okay.
lives a bit farther away from me, so
Mhm.
we never really collaborated on a whole lot. We went to different schools and stuff. For a while,
All
we went
right.
to the same school, but we haven't for a long time. Um, and so Grant actually has the channel still, Dumbsville,
Oh,
and
cool.
does like movie reviews and stuff, and he's actually gotten pretty big.
Okay.
Some people might know the name, and he's done really well with that. So he's still my friend and everything. We haven't really collaborated a whole lot with
Okay.
stuff in movies. He did actually appear in the first episode of my Armor of God reboot series,
Okay.
and he's actually going to be more involved with that because he was involved with the original one. So
All
he's
right.
kind of coming back to that. He was never really into Doctor Who, so he didn't really get too involved in that. But he is a good friend, and I'm excited to work with him more in the future.
All right. So, my next question is there anyone you like to thank, like a list of anyone who you like to thank for all the projects you've done?
Um, I would like to thank Ben Galladay. He's a huge
Okay.
inspiration. He was a mentor that kind of helped me get into the movies. Grant Spears, obviously. Both my
Yeah.
parents. I couldn't have done it without my parents, especially my dad, because he helped me
Okay.
build the TARDIS and everything. Um,
Okay.
there's a lot of people. I mean, I could go on forever.
Yeah.
Zach Fergus, my boy. He's been my co-producer for years. He's stuck by me a long time. Eli, he's been here for a long time.
All right.
And Luke Lane has helped a lot. You know, I have a lot of people, and
Yeah.
if I didn't say your name, I'm sorry. There's just a lot of people. But I thank all of you that have ever helped me on anything and ever been involved in anything, and I really appreciate it because you can't make a movie without a crew and cast. So
Yeah. That's
it's been
true.
helpful, yeah.
So my next question is, what advice can you give to anyone who wants to start their own independent film company?
So that's kind of a difficult question because
All right.
sometimes I forget. Like I don't consider myself a company, but I guess I technically am. It's just a YouTube channel. It's just different.
Yeah.
But I would say so something that I have always kind of tried to do, and it's been hard because like you want to tell a story, but
Yes.
you also have to stick within the means you have to make that story real. So
Okay.
like there's been times where my friends will write scripts for me about these crazy Doctor Who episode ideas, but I'm like we don't have the money or the means to even make this happen. So we have to scrap
Okay.
the script. So kind of being aware of like what means you have, like what things you have around the house, what you can use, and don't be afraid to start small with
All
like a
right.
short film. Like you can make a 5 minute short film and make it great. You can win awards for it, and like
Mhm.
make really great stuff. So it doesn't have to be anything huge. Just making something small and just starting. You know, something that took me a while. I made films before I started YouTube, and for a while like
All right.
I wasn't allowed to be on YouTube for a while. I was
Yeah.
eventually cuz clearly I'm on YouTube now. Um but I eventually kind of just took that leap and like, all right, we're going to do something different. We're going to put a lot into this. And you're probably not going to see a lot of growth yet. It's going to take
Okay.
a while. Like something I saw a post. It was like you can be working hard and you could be working hard like for 4 days and give up when
That is true.
if you would have worked 5 days, you could have blown up the next day. Like you don't know. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Like especially with YouTube, you could be going at it. Like I've been on YouTube for like 8 years,
Okay.
and I still I'm not PewDiePie. I'm pretty small still, but
I mean, that's probably a
I've
compliment for
also
you.
yeah. I've also had multiple channels and like multiple different niches, and I've done like different things besides film. But
Okay.
I've learned so much. Like I've grown knowing how to edit things and how to film things and how to make videos, and kind of like where my real passion is telling stories through video. I
Okay.
tried to do gaming. I tried to do a ton of other stuff where like that wasn't my passion, and I feel like now I'm kind of at a point where like the only type of content I want to make is like movies or short films or stories,
All
because
right.
that's what I'm passionate about. So like
Okay.
follow your passion. Remember like what means you have, and be patient, because patience, you can't do it without patience.
All right.
And just try to reach out to people that you know, or if you don't know anyone, like I found a local group on Facebook of
All
actors. I'm
right.
like, all right, actors in Ohio, let's find them. And that's how I got people to be in the movie. Like, we have the advantage of social media. Like, now we can
Yeah.
contact people across the world. And like I was able to find, like, through other friends, people who made like my Doctor Who intro sequence,
Okay.
and people who compose music that I never would have met if I wouldn't have like kind of broadened my horizon and like actually reached out to people online, and kind of
Okay.
made friends online. So that's really, I mean, if any of that kind of makes sense. I know it was kind of a giant mess of things, but I hope somebody got some value from that.
Hopefully.
It's definitely rough. It's not easy, but as my friends at DDK would say, nothing worth doing is easy. So
That's good advice.
yeah, keep
I
doing
might
it.
steal the quote.
I might steal it. Yeah.
Okay, I'm kidding. I barely gave advice. So my next question is, I'm sorry if the answer is no, but have you won any sort of award yet for your films?
I actually won one award at school,
Okay.
so I have a Stark State Media Award from college.
Uh-huh.
We actually made a Han Solo short film, which is on the channel, called Smuggler's Bounty. That was kind of our pilot for the movie, and
Okay.
I made that for a film festival at college, and we won an award for it. So it was the
That's
best
cool.
short film, I guess. But yeah, so we did win one award, and that was pretty cool. So
All
looking
right.
forward to see what else we can do.
So you mentioned earlier that your passion is filmmaking. So, this question is about your channel called Jericho Kean, where you do gaming
Mm-hmm.
videos featuring Gary's Mod and Minecraft. Uh, so my question is, how does it differ from, obviously those are not your passion, like you mentioned earlier. How does it differ from the videos you make on the Redemption Studios whenever you do gaming videos?
So that type of thing, that was more of a hobby, kind of just
Yeah.
for fun. Like
Uh-huh.
Dumbsville and I, we used to play, like my friend Grant, we used to
Okay.
play games and stuff together, and we'd do videos and collaborations like that. It's something that I was into for a while. Like I was into
Mm-hmm.
gaming. I was like, ooh, I could do a gaming channel. That'd be cool, because a whole bunch of people were doing, because nobody was doing gaming on YouTube, clearly. Um, no, everybody's doing it. So it was kind of like, all right, I'm gonna do this. This is cool. I watched a lot of people that did that. I watched Minecraft YouTubers growing up, and
All right.
gamers and stuff, and it was something I thought was fun. I'm like, I can do this. This is easy. This is fun. And I did it for a while, and I had another channel before Jericho Kane that was gaming, and I even dove into like lifestyle fashion type stuff for a while. But I've noticed that throughout all of that, the one thing that I've continually been doing on YouTube is movies. Like
All right.
despite doing gaming and other stuff on the side, that's where I started, was with storytelling and
Okay.
movies and short films, and that's kind of the one thing that has stuck throughout all of it. Like I've continued to want to do that stuff. So that's kind of why I've kind of chose to stick with that. So the Jericho Kane channel, like, it was fun, and I still love it, and I am proud of
Uh-huh.
everything I did, and it was fun to make. I may or may not be doing a whole lot with it anymore, just because
Okay.
I want to focus more on Redemption Studios, and like I'm working now, so I don't have time to do a whole bunch of different channels. So I'd rather focus on the one that has been consistent and the one that I'm more passionate about. So it is really different. Like it's obviously way easier to just record yourself playing a game than to get a whole bunch of people and make a movie. But the movies is kind of what I'm more passionate about, I think I wanted to make some kind of video content on YouTube, so I just did gaming because it was easy, and I enjoyed gaming, and I still do. But it's not something I. If I'm playing a game, I'm like, I don't want to make a video. I just want to play a game because I'm like have time. So it's not something I really want to do for content anymore. It's more just a hobby. So yeah, movies is more my thing, I guess.
Okay, are you currently pursuing or hope to pursue filmmaking as a career?
Um, yes, I think so. I mean,
All right.
right now the only way I'm really pursuing it is through YouTube and like doing what we've been doing with our short films and stuff. Because
Yeah.
that's kind of the scale we're at right now.
All
The
right.
plan is with our Armor of God series, because it's an original series. We're actually gonna try and sell it and get it on. There's actually a
Oh, that's cool.
streaming service. I know somebody who has like a smaller streaming service, and I'm trying to get make connections there to maybe get it on that. So there is definitely like some we're making
All right.
progress with it. So yeah, I'm hoping that eventually it can turn into a full time career, whether it's like doing bigger stuff with like Hollywood or
All right.
doing indie films, which I would be fine with too, as long as it's something kind of in that realm of filmmaking is what I enjoy.
Well, if that does happen in the future, which I'm pretty sure it might well. That's not grammatically correct. I'd be honored like to interview you at this point.
Yeah.
Okay. So you mentioned a streaming service. Could you say what the name is, or is it like all
So
confidential?
so the streaming service is called the Fantasy Network. It's a
Okay.
smaller streaming service made by a whole bunch of indie filmmakers who make like fantasy content, like
All right. That's
Lord of the
cool.
Rings type stuff. There's also some sci-fi stuff on
Okay.
there. And
Oh, that's nice.
I've kind of talked with one of the filmmakers that helped make it. I am friends with him, so I'm kind of talking to him, and he's actually helped me with a lot of stuff, like giving me tips and
All right.
advice on filmmaking and stuff. So I'm hoping that once we actually finish our series, I can try and get it on there.
Okay. All right. That's cool. All right. That's cool. Let me
So
know when that happens. I'll be looking
yeah,
forward
that's
to
kind
it.
of the goal right now.
All right. So my last question is, for some reason, I did not ask this question often. I feel like I should have asked this for every interview I have. But what do you currently think, what's your opinion on the 13th Doctor? The canon
Um,
13th
yeah.
Doctor.
So I actually think she's done a really good job. Jodie Whittaker, I think she's a really good actress, and I think that she's played the part. I
Okay.
think she's played the part really well. I think that the writing in the show has been better. I don't think it's really at the best.
Oh,
I do
okay.
kind of like, I do like some of it, but there's also parts I don't like certain
Yeah, of
episodes and
course.
stuff. But I do think that Jodie's done a great job playing the 13th Doctor, and I'm excited to see where else she takes the role and what happens next.
All right. That's not really a popular opinion, but I'm actually glad to hear it. I'm actually glad to hear like something new for once instead of just even though
Yeah.
I don't fully agree with your actually I don't know if I should agree with your opinion because I did watch the series 11, but I did not watch series 12 yet, so I guess I should do that. I don't really know. Anyways, enough about
Yeah.
that. That was the last question. Thank you, Jericho, for coming to my show. And is there anything you'd like to say to the wait, hold up. I forgot to say the art stuff. I'm tired. I'm tired. We've been filming. I think
Oh,
we've been
you're
filming for
good.
2 hours. Okay, so
Yeah.
I'll put a link. So check out his fam series. It's really good, really interesting to watch, especially the Calvin verse. Uh, if you want, I could put out the pilot series too, only if you want to. But I currently suggest you watch
Sure, why not?
the Regenerate series. Oh, okay. But I highly suggest you watch the Regenerate series. If you want to watch pilot series, that's fine. I'll put a
Mm-hmm.
link to his Twitter, Instagram, whatever social media people has these days.
Yeah.
I can't name it at the moment. So just check him out if you want to check out his other works. You could check out there too. What was the streaming service you mentioned again?
The Fantasy Network.
The Fantasy Network. So if I were you, I would probably check out that network. In case if he does get greenlit for a series. And yeah, is there anything you'd like to say to the audience, Jericho?
I just want to thank you for joining me or allowing me to come on the show. It was really
All
cool.
right.
I really enjoyed being able to talk to you about everything, and it's been really fun. And I just want to
Yeah, it
thank
is.
all of the audience, all the people that have been watching my content over the past couple years. That I couldn't do it without you guys. So thank you guys for watching, and thank you guys for being supportive of it. And I hope that you guys will enjoy what we make next, and I can't wait for you guys to see it.
All right, we'll see you there. Okay, we'll see. Okay, I was going to say I was going to say an anime catchphrase. I'm not going to do that. Um, I'm trying to think of an ending because if the audience watch this series, which you probably do, normally I have my interviewee say something interesting at the end of the video, like
Mm-hmm.
subscribe to PewDiePie or whatever. But I mean it didn't work, so I'm not going to do that. So I'm trying to think of an ending. You know what? I'm going to use the anime ending from that TV series I'm watching on Netflix. We'll see you there.